Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. That is that sounder. You all know it. No, most of you don't know it, but a few of you know that is the Morse code for CQ, CQ, CQ. And that means if you know something about ham radio and Morse code, it says, hey, I'd like to talk to anybody who wants to talk. It means calling all radio stations, calling all listeners. I want to talk. So, as the sounder says, please pay attention. We're talking to you. CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Stan Houston with, that's right, interesting ideas. And I think today's From Here to Eternity might be a rather interesting idea. I went and saw the film on Elvis over the weekend. My wife and I celebrated a significant wedding anniversary. And as she would say, we're still married. That makes it significant. And we've been married happily, not every year, but many years for a long, long time. And so I was grateful that we could take some time to see. Now, that was a 3.5-hour movie. It was a long one. And, of course, I grew up in the age of Elvis, and so did my wife, Karen. So a lot of those things we remembered. In fact, I'll talk about that sometime because I remember exactly where I was the day that Elvis died. And I can tell you that story sometime, why I remember exactly where I was when Elvis died. But that's not the point. The point was I particularly enjoyed all of the history and that comes forward. And to know Elvis at that time was also to be a survey of the culture and the world of the 1950s and 60s in the United States, and particularly in the music scene. So I enjoyed it. But it also reminded me of a good thing and a not so happy thing. It's about the best of things and, of course, not so good. And so if you'll give me just a few minutes on this Monday night as we meet the marketplace, just perhaps to do a little reminiscing and perhaps introduce you to a thought that might help you the rest of the week. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and it begins right now. One of the classic movies of the 1950s, which became a very popular movie because it was a documentary, of all things, about some things, even though it was a fiction, it very much reflected in the early 50s some of the things that many of the war veterans, the guys who came back from the Second World War, were going through. And it wasn't a very pleasant picture about what it was like for many of these men who had perhaps been war heroes and now are back trying to make life happen, and a lot of good things are not happening for them. And that was the film From Here to Eternity. Starred a woman named Donna Reed, who some of you may remember was Mrs. Bailey in, A Wonderful Life. She was born in Denison, Iowa, and the rags to riches story, couldn't afford to go to college in Iowa, left Denison, Iowa, and she left because she thought she could make her mark someplace else. And just as we've been talking about, her chemistry teacher in high school had given her a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and he assured her that she could make her mark. And obviously a nice-looking young woman, she had really taken that to heart and made lots of friends, and so she went off to California because her aunt said that at that time junior college was free in California, and so she could go to college free, which is what she started to do. But in looking for ways to support herself, someone suggested she do a screen test. And the rest of the story is this young woman became quite a very significant movie star and starred in, of course, many very profitable and very memorable movies. and went on to a life of success. But she was influenced by how to win friends and influence people. And from here to eternity, and all of a sudden, that kind of mention in the Elvis film, I remembered something I had written, and I went back and found it, and I found it, and it was what I suspected, a good story, but it also turns out to be a fairly sad story. Let me tell you about it. I was working as a business performance coach, which I still am, but I was primarily involved in the financial services industry, and one of the top salesmen in Minneapolis, because I had been able to help 2 or 3 of these guys really put their business together. So the proverbial, people talked about me. I had people who were influential recommended me to others, and so one of these top salesmen asked me to come along and help him with his business. And he had a young man working for him, and his name was Mark Best. And there we go, Mark Best. And as I came in and began to talk about some of the things about setting goals, being one of the 3%, and how you would do these things, Mark was a significant, he got right into it. He thought this was great. He wanted to learn everything he could because he wanted to make his mark. He wanted to be he said, I want to live up to my name. I want to be not only the best, I want to be the best. And so he really dug into it. And I remember one time he really helped me because we were talking about doing things that were important, things that were significant. And Mark had been raised as a Catholic boy, and he was not only the altar boy who did it because he had to. He was, even at this young stage in his life, very, very much committed to his faith, and he was taking his faith seriously. He was taking his personal development seriously. He was a winner. And I remember what he said one time. Can I just read you a little bit about what my notes said that I dug up? Mark Best said, when faced with a decision, whether personal or professional, a vital question to ask to keep priorities in line and clarity of thought might be, does it have eternity written on it or not? Now, there's a 26-year-old man. He said, that's what I do. Does it have eternity written on it or not? And then he went on to say, and he shared this with me not only personally, but he then wrote it down. This one goofy little question has helped me break the bad habit of letting small things appear too large, or letting minor inconveniences and annoyances get under my skin and distract me from the bigger picture I'm focusing on. And because eternity has so many implications to it, the question runs deeper than it may first appear. Young man, Mark Best, does it have eternity written on it? And I'd forgotten that. But thank goodness the film Elvis reminded me to think about eternity from that line there. The movie led me, and there I found this old script of about 17, 18 years where I wrote down what Mark Best, this brilliant young man, had said about, does it have eternity written on it or not? Isn't that great? And it's significant in my life right now, and I'm sure it's significant in some of yours. So there we go. But unfortunately, the story does not have a happy ending. And so I'll share that with you, but it may be okay after all. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and today it's more than that. It's does it have eternity written on it? Well, I had that coaching assignment with my friend and Mark Best, his young colleague. And we went on and we kind of kept in touch. However, things did not go well for Mark. I've oftentimes wondered why these things happen, because he was so, Mark started to drink and he couldn't stop drinking. And he became not only an alcoholic, but a terrible alcoholic. Now, I oftentimes have mixed feelings about that, where they say, well, it's not a bad habit, it's a disease. If there was anything that gave credence to the fact that it could be really a serious disease, was what happened to Mark. His family, he went into, there were more than a couple interventions by his parents and his wife as he was committed to therapy and to trying to get sober. But in spite of all of the good stuff in his life and all of the things that he just kept going back. And finally, at a very young age, Mark died. And he died of alcoholism. He died of alcoholism. That's what the diagnosis was. And I think that's what they actually put on his death certificate. So I hope still that I think Mark, who was committed to wanting to do things that had eternal significance, is rewarded for that. I believe, even though that was a sad, sad ending, I believe he's still kind of safe in the arms of the Eternal One. I'd like to believe that. And I really do believe that. But from here to eternity, he's remembered, obviously, for his death and for all of the sadness and sorrow that caused. But one of the reasons I'm doing this right now and posting it is because maybe someday, somebody, you put it on the internet, it can last forever. Someday somebody may find this little program and they'll say, Mark Best, a young man who asked the question, does it have eternity written on it or not? And that might make a difference in their life, maybe a significant difference in their life. And if it did, it's all because of my friend, Mark Best. Rest in peace. God be with you, Mark Best. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas. And I know that Mark had some small children who aren't small anymore. And so it caused me not only to say a prayer for his soul, but obviously that would have affected his children. And I hope they're okay. Obviously, the problem of alcoholism can oftentimes be a generational thing. So again, it's not a perfect world. It's not even close. But maybe someday we'll get to be in something far more perfect. At least that's the faith that many of us live with. Hey, I can help you if I can. Please keep in mind What It Takes Radio is helping. Right now, we're putting together some significant podcasts. People are saying, this is how I'm going to express myself. This is how I'm going to make my mark. This is how I'm going to spread my platform and my influence. And so you can join them. I'm fortunate enough to have right now a number of people who are saying, Stan, I want to do this. This will work for me in my business. I want to be just like you in the sense. I said, no, you don't. You want to be you, not like me. You want to be like you. But I can show you how to be your best on the radio. So just reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. our coaching, and please, the Making Your Mark and Making Good Friends, that will be soon. All of those presentations, it will be the video presentation, and it'll be on a YouTube channel, and you can go back and visit it all the times, and maybe we'll even bring out a book that is that Dale Carnegie update. If you'd like to be someone who contributes to that, because I would like for it to have stories of people who actually have lived and learned some of those things, and they share what they have lived and what they've learned for the benefit of others, because now I can make a book that continually grows with people's testimonies and stories of what happened to them. So if you'd like to be part of that, again, reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. Best and blessings to Mark, and best and blessings to all of us, everyone. We certainly need it at these rather crossroads and chaotic times. Till next time, which I hope is soon, bye for now.